chat, hello, welcome back to my little fashion corner. This fashionably short video was meant to be about Balenciaga and Vetements and was also meant to be out a lot sooner. But as producer Linda was procrastinating writing this and then went on vacation, 9 to 5 was sort of busy, things happened, general laziness and just like not wanna. None of that helped because it validated the procrastination because things happen in the meantime, and I felt sort of like, thank goodness I waited because I can include all the things, and that's just not great for producer Linda or the LKT team. But here we are, finally talking about it, so welcome to Fashionably Short. Just in terms of housekeeping, Pierpaolo Piccoli, who spent past years in Valentino, has joined Balenciaga as their creative director. And now there are two types of people in the chat fighting or Insta comments. Those that are unhappy and proclaiming that Balenciaga is now going to be mid, and the other camp is extremely happy because they are hanging around for the return of what Balenciaga was in terms of Cristobal Balenciaga's Balenciaga. Then should I was talk about Balenciaga? Anyway, I personally am ecstatic. The story around Balenciaga, while it's not fantastic, is a little bit nuanced. So the talk track for today is Demna and his just not greatness, not in terms of the designing, although it's per personal taste. But as always, I had no one to tell, so here we are. Balenciaga has a rich history and an actual legacy beyond the many controversies. Cristobal Balenciaga was born in 1895 in a small coastal city of Getaria in Spain. His mother was a seamstress, therefore from an early age he would sort of absorb the discipline and the craftsmanship of tailoring, learn by watching, then by doing, and in his teens he got a job as an apprentice at a tailor shop. His talent was right there, and together with what he absorbed from his mother, the exactness and the tailoring, good things were just bound to happen. In 1919, he opened his first fashion house, San Sebastian, which was named after his mother's maiden name, and it was followed by boutiques in Madrid and Barcelona. His designs very much attracted the Spanish elite, including the royals. The outbreak of civil war in the 1930s in Spain changed his course. In 1937, he relocated to Paris and founded the Balenciaga Couture House. Whilst others, not all but most, follow seasonal trends, he focused on structure, proportion and silhouette. He was very known for his minimalist architectural shapes, garments that seemed to float or curve with just force and a little bit of fierceness, if you know what I mean. And over the years, he introduced many now iconic forms, like the barrel line, sag dress, and the baby doll dress. Designs that often appear deceptively simple, but were technically complex, and most importantly, well structured and executed. He rarely gave interviews, he really avoided spotlights and maintained tight control over his house. And amongst his peers, really just pure praise. Christian Dior called him the master of us all, and Coco Chanel said she was the only true couturier. He dressed some of the most prominent women of the mid-20th century, Grace Kelly, Jackie Kennedy, Mona von Bismarck. But in 1968, as the fashion world shifted towards mass production and ready-to-wear, he quietly closed down his atelier and retired. 4 years later, he died in Spain at the age of 77. For Balenciaga, it was really a struggle for the brand to stay relevant after his passing in 1972, but it wasn't until 1987 that Michel Gaumont became creative director, and because the house was dormant until then, his works were mostly an attempt to revive the brand and bring back to relevancy. In 1992, Joseph T. Mister, really testing my French today, former head of menswear, became the creative director. His style was quite akin to Cristobal Balenciaga's, and that really helped to prime the modern revival, the comeback, so to speak. And in 1997, a name that is often talked about on this channel, Nicolas Ghesquière. Normally, you'll hear me complaining about the mess that Louis Vuitton's ready-to-wear is, in my opinion, Your Honor. Ghesquière at Balenciaga was really a match. He is widely credited for transforming Balenciaga into a leading brand, and that's thanks to his love for just futuristic tailoring that I feel is just not working well for him right now. He was really playing with the structures and strong silhouettes, bringing the future into his design, which at the time it was quite experimental and fashion forward. All helped Balenciaga to become more modern and more ready to wear. Just for the sake of a timeline, it was at the same time when Marc Jacobs was building Louis Vuitton's ready-to-wear collections. Tough competition. 2012 was the first step towards more streety style by putting Alexander Wang in charge. I have many mostly bad things to say about Alexander Wang and many a problem with him, but back then people really felt like he wasn't doing much for the brand as he tried to bring it closer to the youth. Putting numbers on paper might have been one of them. It didn't really go very well, and 3 years later, in 2015, Demna arrived. With Demna, anti-fashion came along, or normcore. I don't know which one-word summary is the most appropriate. The oh, world of fashion is so obscure and we're gonna mock it with borderline ugly basic wear and charge half a kidney for it. Remember those videos of people dressing themselves ridiculous and trying to cosplay fashion influencers at Fashion Week and trying to get invitations to go in? Well, that was kind of the blueprint, I feel. The problem was, well, maybe not the problem, the situation as it was, streetwear was extremely popular. Virgil Abloh and Kanye West were influencing with an iron fist, and actually Virgil and Kanye and their minions made Vetements really, really boom. Was Vetements? Glad you asked. Vetements is a brand, is a French, actually I think it was founded in Switzerland. The name Vetements is French for clothing, founded by two brothers, the Gvasalia brothers, Demna and Guram. Demna was fashion, Guram was more business. I still like Vetements since Guram took over, but people call it mid and I'll take it, I'm mid myself, especially when it comes to streetwear. Insane rise to fame. And when I say insane, I mean insane. Their first show was Autumn-Winter 14-15, and by the time they presented Spring-Summer 16 in October 2015, Vetements was on everyone's radar, to the point where Kanye, Virgil and their flock came to see their show in this Chinese restaurant in Paris, I believe. 6 days later, Balenciaga announced Demna's appointment as their creative director. He took it, obviously, but he stayed in Vetements until 2019. The move was pretty surprising and quite abrupt. Since then, there have been signs of strain between the brothers, but publicly it was silence. It was never really addressed. You could read about Guram trying to rewrite the history, saying that he was a lot more involved in Vetements than designs than it was alluded to. At the same time, like, I have no idea. I can absolutely see Demna saying like, no, it was all me and Guram was just, you know, holding my briefcase. But I wasn't there. Besides the subtle jabs on social media, no nations addressed to discuss any type of falling out. So what did Demna bring into Balenciaga besides the highly inappropriate teddy bear campaign and dressing Kim K's thinking they're both doing something? That's pretty much it. Admittedly, Demna is talented in his ways and styles. Demna's Balenciaga was kind of like Vetements for Balenciaga, I feel. A blend of streetwear, irony, concept design. He is a trained tailor, and which I always love to see. Across the years, you could see oversized and distorted silhouettes with references to everyday clothing, you know, hoodies, puffer jackets, workwear, and trying to elevate the norm and mundane into high fashion. That said, he always knew how to make it ugly, too ugly for me. Lots been said about his fashion used as a tool to comment on consumerism, identity and social tension. I don't know. The anti-fashion normcore aesthetic, it was still constructed with respect for tailoring. That all said, it's extremely divisive, either you like it or not, and it was still feeding into capitalism, and whilst it was commenting on consumerism, it was still following consumerist trends. Now, I do believe fashion is weird and fluid. I personally am more of a fan of the other side of the world. Also, I'd like to be able to say I don't like something without being yelled at, that I don't understand. I probably don't, but that is partly why I'm so excited about Pierpaolo coming over from Valentino. Back to the Balenciaga drama. During Demna's tenure at Balenciaga, and well, still with him. The brand has been at the center of several controversies. The most notorious one was in 2022, a campaign that featured children holding teddy bear bags dressed in bondage gear, alongside another ad that included an image of documents referencing a case about child sexual abuse as a prop. Under a handbag, you can see paperwork from a US Supreme Court case interrogating whether child sexual abuse imagery legislation curtails freedom of speech rights. Clearly, just in case I need to make a statement, I think that's disgusting. Balenciaga's reps said that all the items in the shoot were provided by third parties that confirmed in writing that these props were fake office documents. They turned out to be real legal papers, most likely coming from the filming of a television drama. There's lots of reading about this out there. It's not really their only controversy, but probably the most notorious one. Saying, oh, it was the production, not us, is just despicable. Demna saying, I had nothing to do with this, it was everyone else. Ridiculous. You cannot say that you're 100% involved in your brand in Vetements and then in Balenciaga and then say, no, actually, I had absolutely nothing to do with this. And even if, just accept the responsibility, dude. You also might have seen or heard about those runway shows staged in a simulated war zone or flooded environments, which were criticized for trivializing real-world suffering. Again, lots of nuance. People saying that Demna is bringing the real life for the rich to see, that as a concept is mildly ridiculous. Even if you do accept that you can use fashion to convey a message and make a statement, McQueen, Vivienne Westwood, Stella McCartney, Demna clearly isn't interested in social causes and helping the world grow into a better place. Besides that, there was no real activism from him, no real statements or any actions to support that narrative that this is just activism. In my opinion, the line between critique and exploitation non-existent. Very much feels or felt like it was taken into the realms of rage bait, which then backfired. Demna was still looking to sell his designs and increase the brand's value. His extensive buy-in to support Kim K's ass and his own, which got him notoriety in print and fashion circles. I really don't remember him donating proceedings or wages towards saving not-for-profits, but I don't know, maybe he's working with Naomi's scandal to sort something out. The idea or vibe of Balenciaga being a streetwear brand came from that reincarnation and launch into popularity again through, Alexander Wang to prime that ground and then Demna to really take it to the next level. So now we've got Pierpaolo coming over from Valentino, and that's probably not very joyous to those who enjoy the, what are we going to call them, out-of-the-box designs. Pierpaolo's Valentino was very, very wearable, very fashionable, but also functional. There's always a right wing of fashion where there are, unwalkable heels or platforms or really, really bright colors, and it's not meant for the office, and we're probably not the target audience. Most of the time, Pierpaolo's Valentino was really, really enjoyable for me. I liked it a lot, and that's why I'm personally so extremely happy about this pairing. It's kind of like fashion music to my ears. I'm just looking forward to him bringing back the good old boring tailoring. Do you know what I mean? I just want to wear it to work. Now, his first show is scheduled for Paris Fashion Week for Spring-Summer, which is this October. Let's hope the video makes it out before then. And bear in mind, Balenciaga is an haute couture house, therefore we can look forward to some high tailoring as well. Now, that was fashionably short on why Balenciaga is fine and is Demna being the problem child, in my opinion, of course. Let's revisit when Pierpaolo shows his first show under the Balenciaga banners. Maybe I'll end up saying it's the brand that is a problem. Who knows? But until then,